Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us once again here on Aspiration Inspiration with me, Jason George, where, as always, we aspire to inspire before we expire. And today, our guest is Clint Wilson. He is a senior legal consultant at CDC. I mean, to people listening to that may feel like you are living your best life up there in the UK. Could you please share a bit about your journey with us?
Wow, well, where do I start? So yeah, I mean, so I'm from Port Bishopsplain, Parkins Road. I won't disclose the number, but Parkins Road, pretty close to Portland's Eye. So we grew up there for a large part of our youth. I mean, single mother, raised my older brother and I. And I guess where it started is my mom always pushed us she always pushed education, you know. She was always pushing us to do well at school. You know, whatever we wanted to try in life or whatever, she supported us, you know, whether it was, I mean, we did life saving, we started karate do at the Civic Center, you know, down the road, you know, so whatever we wanted to try with sport, whatever, she supported us.
Yeah.
Sorry, she pushed us, you know. And that's really where it started. I mean, we lived in Portland for the formative years of our lives, but we also moved around a bit. You know, we lived in Athlone. My dad still lives in Ravensmead. I also lived in Ravensmead for a while. And I guess at school I was always sort of a bright student. You know, I ate a couple of speed bumps in high school, but then sort of through I don't know what you'd call it, but so just sort of through circumstances, I ended up, I went to high school at Livingston, and through circumstances, I ended up doing my standard 9 in matric at Edgemead High, because by then we'd moved to North Pine again, so we moved around a bit, so we moved to North Pine, and that was sort of a close to school. I was traveling from North Pine to Claremont to go to Livingston in standard 8. So I mean, that was a nightmare, taking the train, all of those things. So anyway, I ended up going to school closer, and that was when the schools also opened up, the segregated schools opened up, you know. So I was one of the first intakes in the Model C schools. So I ended up doing my 9 and 10 there. But a long story short, at school, my 9, when I went to Edgemead High, my marks just sort of shot up. So I think I was in a different environment, and I think I started appreciating that I had a better chance or a better quality of education, or facilities, of teacher. There were 19 of us in a class versus 37, 38. You know, so and that's when I applied myself, you know, and I got good matric results, which meant I could really, I had options, you know.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, back then, I never knew what I wanted to study. So I remember clearly sitting at my dad's kitchen counter, and I had forms for UCT, and I had forms for UWC, Stellenbosch, and I had forms for Cape Tech. You know, and the thing I wanted to do at Cape Tech was nature conservation, because I thought, hey, it'd be cool to walk around in the bush all day in a pair of shorts, you know what I'm saying, you know. And I thought, that sounds like and then I was like, you know, what about architecture, you know? And I really didn't know what I wanted to do. And anyway, I ended up applying to UCT only, so putting all my eggs in one basket. I applied for BA, and I spoke to people, got some advice. Look, you know, do a BA if you're not sure what you want to do. Get there, get a bit of a grounding or some experience, and that's already I went in with no real sort of. My mom always was sort of on my shoulder, in my ear, you know, become a lawyer. But I sort of went in there not really knowing what I really wanted to do, and so I went in. I did a BA at UCT. I majored in English and religious studies. So that often sort of stumps people. They said,
I'm a preacher, Clint.
Look. The bit I studied was more like around the science of religion. So you study different types of religion and sort of try to understand why and how, and you know, the stories behind it and the meaning behind these, you know, the symbols, the ritual, all these things. I find it fascinating, you know, because it sort of it gives you insight into human nature and people as well, you know. So
Definitely.
I find it very fascinating. So I did that in my BA. I did pretty well in my BA, except for in the first year failing Latin intensive. Back then, you needed to do Latin. You needed to do Latin intensive to do LLB.
Yeah.
So that was like the way they kept a lot of people out. You know what I'm saying? Because Latin was like, that was like, no one speaks Latin. No one, you know. So that's the only like sort of blemish on my academic transcript is it's Latin intensive F, you know. The fail there. But so I did pretty well. I sort of ended up on the dean's merit list towards the end. You know, I really enjoyed my PA, my grounding. I at the same time I was also working. You know, just sort of. You know, at one point I was working 3 jobs. You know what I'm saying? But just to sustain myself. You know. Because I think I was fortunate enough that my dad was in a position to cover my fees. But I mean, I was buying my own books. I was buying my own clothes. My first car I paid for myself. You know, we weren't in a position for my mom to say, "Son, you know, here's pocket money, whatever, go out." Or you know, so I was working constantly while I was studying. And I think that was sort of that work ethic and that drive to sort of support myself was obviously my mom also supported that, you know. And that sort of stood me in good stead later on in life. So anyway, so get to the end of my BA, not sure what to study. I was really keen on doing my honors in religious studies, and sort of becoming a lecturer, because by then I started tutoring as well. I was tutoring first year religious studies students. So you know, I got the taste for that. That sort of imparting of knowledge and developing people and helping them. I really enjoyed that. And then I think what made the decision for me was my dad basically said, "Look, I'll pay for you to do RLB, but I'm not going to pay for you to do your honors in religious studies, you know, because what are you going to do with it? You know, you're going to become a lecturer, grow hair long, whatever, you know." It's like, you know, so
you didn't do that. You didn't do that.
So yeah, obviously I didn't do that. Yeah. So look, I mean, I didn't apply. I got it for my LLB. And in hindsight, so in retrospect, looking back, it's not a decision I regret, because I found parts of the law that I really loved and enjoyed. You know, I enjoyed even though initially it was a bit like full on. You know, you get into LLB and it's immediately competitive. You know.
And I see that you studied at UCT as well, and in particular that environment. You know. It's a very competitive environment that you find yourself in. I mean, how did you, you know, being from an area like Mitchell's Plain and then having lived around, you know, how did you overcome that feeling? Or did you ever feel like, you know, this is not for you, that law is not for you? You know, there's a lot of competition there. I mean, in your time, there may have also been a lot of, you know, white faces around. And how did you overcome all of those feelings when you were in law school?
So for me at law school, it wasn't too much of a problem because you know, I could put the marks in. I was getting the marks, you know. So I never sort of felt like I couldn't hang with the big boys, or you know what I'm saying, because I was getting decent marks. You know, sometimes I was getting the highest mark in class, other times I wasn't. But I think I never felt sort of inadequate at that point. Yes, sort of academically, I never felt sort of inferior, or I couldn't sort of keep up with him. You know, obviously there were other aspects of university life that you did feel like a fish out of water. Like I mean, I remember there was great stress when at one point when they said, "Look, people, your assignments can't be handwritten anymore. It needs to be printed." You know, and we're talking, I'm giving my age away now, but this is like 97. Yes, 97, you know, first year RLB. And back then, not everyone had a computer, you know. And that was a big thing for us, you know. And I was a member back then of the Black Law Students Forum. used to have the Law Students Council and the Black Law Students Forum. And I mean, that forum was basically to highlight and raise issues like this, so the university can say, fine, print it. But hello, there's some of us here who don't have access to a computer, and, we need to now compete for the 20 computers in the lab that we had at the time. We needed to compete for that time and space, even stuff like books as well, access to law books. Some people could just afford to buy brand new books every year, some of us are photocopying pages out of books, to sort of do the reading. So little things like that were challenges at the time. But I mean, you know what I'm saying? You from the Cape Flats, you adapt, you have your network of people, you socialize, and you sort of sort each other out in our place.
Exactly. Yeah, and you become street smart. Like you know how to find your way around. When you are in these places, and as you say, because you are from a space where there's a lot of diversity anyway, it's easy to fit into kind of these spaces and to navigate your way around and get to know people. I think that's when. And then what then happened after? Did you go into practice after your studies, and how did you then do after studying?
So again, I was I think before even going to practice, but a bit that helped me a lot while I was at UCTs, I joined the program. I don't know if they still have it, but the Integrated Bar Association. They were doing this program where they place law students, intermediate law students. They give you like an internship at the law firm, and I think that is one of the main thing that contributed to me sort of growing my career. Was that so I applied for this program, and they placed me with the law firm in Cape Town. So I managed to do VAC work. It was fully paid. They paid me, and I went in there in my suit, and a briefcase and a very colorful tie, whatever. So, but that's sort of it gave me the taste and feel for what it was like to work in a law firm. And then I got through to the second round, because there are different rounds. And the second round was they placed me with at the High Court in Cape Town, with the High Court judge. And that time I was sort of informal clerk to Judge Van Renen and Jeanette Traverso. So I spent like a good few. I think it was a month with them at the High Court in Cape Town, in the chambers, sitting there, sitting there wide-eyed, like, listening to these lawyers come in and argue in the chambers, and then going to court and organizing bundles. So I think that also sort of set me up well for the next phases when I started to think about articles. What do I do? How do I go about this? And I took two approaches. One, I probably printed about 100 CVs and cover letters. And my friends and I, we walked Cape Town flat, Cape Town, Beautiful in Wynberg, dropping CVs off. If I say after those 100 CVs, we only got 1 or 2 acknowledgements. That was the case. And then UCT itself, they arranged sort of for the law firms to come in and interview students. And it was there that I managed to get noticed by some of the firms.
Yeah.
And I mean, at the time they were called Sonnenberg, Hoffman, Galambik. They're now ENS.
Yeah.
So they were, and that process itself was very competitive. I mean, like people were like, it was crazy, and I remember going for the interview. I remember the people who interviewed me, Lawrence Hellman and Susan Stalzman, I think it was. She's no longer with Sonnenbergs, but I had this interview, and then I walked away from the interview, and they called me back. And I thought, what did I do? And I came back, and they were like, look, we'd like to offer you articles, I was like, what, you kidding me? I was like, trying to play it cool, and like, yes, like, oh, that's great news, can I think about it? I still got a few other options, and
trying to play cool.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? They tried to be all cool. And I was like, yeah, okay, cool. What's the package? And I remember the one thing that stood out for me as part of sort of what they offered article clocks was that they offered you free lunch every day. And to me, that is just like free lunch, man. This is like this is the swing factor here, So anyway, so I walked away, but I think the thing that stood out for me most was that people couldn't believe that there were some people who actually felt like not robbed, but they were like shocked. Why is this guy getting off immediately on the day? and you know, our marks are better than his, or you know, there was it got quite a bit. It got very competitive, and sometimes people's true colors come out in those situations, you know. But you know, I was pleased, and I was fortunate enough to sort of have two further offers as well. One from Bowman's in Johannesburg.
Nice.
I remember Sensei Ezra called me, and unfortunately, I had to tell Sensei Ezra, look, no lunch. I'm sorry, I'm out. You know what I'm saying? So, but the reason why I started doing it to Bowman's is because it meant that I had to move away from my family, Cape Town, and go to Joburg. And I think that was too daunting for me at the time. And then the other one was Finley in Tate, who later became part of Bowman's anyway.
Cape Town, yeah.
So yeah, so that's how I started at Sonnenberg's, in 2000.
And now you are in-house. You are in-house legal counsel.
Yeah.
How does that, for someone who maybe doesn't know, could you explain to us your role now? And how did you make that transition, and why did you make that transition from practice into in-house?
Yeah. I mean, look, let me start with the sort of the big difference in in-house and practice is that in-house, I think why I enjoy it is because I have the luxury and ability to focus on one client, you know. I get to know the business. I really get to know it inside out. I get to know what's important to the business. So I think from a risk and a commercial perspective, being in-house is what I enjoy, as opposed to practice, you know, where you many clients, and as hard as you try to sort of know each client's business, you know, you can't beat sitting in that business every day, listening to the talk that happens around the water cooler, or you know, chatting to someone informally, having a coffee. So that's the part that I really enjoy about in-house is really getting to know the business, understanding you know, what drives the business, you know, the commercial aspects, and I think like I say, that being in-house, you're always going to have that level in detail of knowledge which external may not have. And what happened with private practice? I mean, I did 2 years articles, and I stayed on as a associate for a year and a half. My first rotation was into litigation. I didn't like it at all. I mean, I used to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, panicking that I haven't filed something, and you know, like that pressure. You know, I sort of enjoyed the court work, but I didn't get the big kick out of sort of you know, they used to call it buffing the other side. You know what I'm saying? You know, that to me it was more sort of litigation tended to be more sort of not destructive, but more confrontational, and not really a situation where, like, you know, went to commercial property where we sort of working together to come to a solution. You sort of agree in terms of an agreement. You know, there's there's a bit of push and pull in negotiation and back and forth, but that everything is almost solution orientated, you know, because you want to make this deal happen. So for me, that really appealed to me, and why I think look, I was always going to struggle from the beginning. My dad's a mechanic. My mom's a medical secretary. So I came into Sonnenberg's, this big law firm with no networks. You know, I came in there like big-eyed, not and also knowing a little bit about the practice of law, but not knowing that I needed to come in there and I needed to get clients. You know, what counted was your last month's billing. You know. And it was it was tough, you know what I'm saying. Like I said, I never had a network. I never went to maybe the right schools, or I never went. My dad's not on the board of XYZ company, so you know, coming that whole situation is foreign to me, you know. So I think that's where I struggled. And I just found that I wasn't writing enough fees, you know, despite my sort of best efforts. And that's you know, when you don't write enough fees, the nature of the beast is they can't carry you, you know.
The billable hour is a bit of a beast.
So it didn't work out for me in practice, but obviously it worked out for me outside of practice, you know. And
And now you're at CDC Investment Works. What does a typical day look like in the life of Clint Wilson at CDC? And I suppose probably before that is like, what is CDC about for someone who maybe doesn't know? What do they do, and then what do you do at CDC?
Okay, so CDC, they are funded by the British government, and their aim is to make investments in emerging markets.
Mm.
So typically in the pursuance of development impact. So the whole aim is they get given some money by the British government, and they've got to go create impact in Africa and South Asia. And I mean, those are typically areas where commercial investors ordinarily wouldn't put their money.
Mm.
So you often investing money in jurisdictions which are pretty high risk investments. So that's sort of the nature of what they do, and they do it in three different ways. They invest direct equity, so they become shareholders in corporations and the like in country, or they're providing debt. And the other way they're doing it also they're investing via funds. So that's sort of the three separate business lines. They give money to fund managers, and the fund managers then, if there's a mandate fit, then they invest into the different countries. And what is it that I do there? I work in the direct equity team. So a day in the life for me would be first of all traveling by train into London. The commute is bad, but anyway, it's part of living in London, and getting to work and just reviewing documents, reviewing NDAs, reviewing term sheets, managing external counsel, but just basically making sure that commercially and legally that the risk appetite which has been approved by the investment committee is sort of reflected in the legal documents. And it's funny and it's interesting because different jurisdictions all the time. I mean, I'm getting exposure to jurisdictions like Egypt, Nepal, African jurisdiction, India, which I wouldn't have had before, and also sort of sectors spread as wide. So I'm looking at sometimes looking at a healthcare deal, sometimes it's a financial institutions deal, sometimes it's manufacturing. So it's a pretty fair mix, and it's I think that's the part that it appeals to me. I think the bits that appeal to me, number one, is that the mission, CDC's mission, is to make a difference in the continent I'm from. So that's my way of also giving back, and also secondly, there's lots of sort of personal fulfillment for me in the type of work I'm doing, it's not just all about profit, it's about development impact, and achieving the UN SDGs. So
that's the thing for me that I love about these DFIs, and what they do, the type of impact investments that they do. It's been, business is the name of the game, and we'd love to have a return, but you're impacting on real people's lives, and developing economies in places where there might not be a lot of economic, activity at the moment. And I look at, what interest would a government like the UK have on a coffee farm in Kenya, for example? But just seeing that, then that turns into a successful business, and the return on that, I think it's as you say, it must be the most fulfilling aspect of the job. But Clint, being from a community where we're from, there may be a kid that's looking at what you're doing now and be like, I don't think I'll be able to do that. Did you always see yourself doing what you're doing today?
It's a very good question, and I think for me the penny really dropped when I left the law firm. I wasn't. I think I always had this dream, this vision of sort of there was a program called LA Law in my time. I suppose these days the equivalent would be Suits.
Suits, yeah.
Of what I'm saying, of this doing law, practicing law, going going to court and sort of having it out with opposition, the opposing counsel, and I think that was always that's what a lot of people are sort of fed, and I think that was sort of so initially I never thought I'd end up where I was, but as I say, once I left private practice, I realized that sort of practicing law in the way I'm doing currently is what makes me happy. It's sort of being in-house, like I say, being part of the business. And particularly now contributing to sort of a greater cause or a greater mission is so. I wouldn't have thought I would have ended up here, but I always sort of. I think my personality type was also that I'm a hard worker and I like contributing to overall causes and problem solving, So yeah, not to say I'm surprised at where I am, but I think I definitely I'm where I need to be, So,
And just on that, with a young person maybe looking at you and your younger self, like if you could speak, to your younger self and we're having, been all over and what would you tell to your younger self?
Well, the first thing I'd say is be more confident. Back yourself and network more. Yeah. Because it's there's this thing called imposter syndrome, where sometimes you feel like you don't belong, and I think particularly for us, sometimes you feel like I don't belong in this boardroom, or what can I contribute, and I think a lot of the times that possibly held me back a bit, in thinking, but what is it there that I've got to say that's going to make a difference? But you know what, and to me, I only developed that confidence sort of later on in my career, where I thought to myself, we've all got the same degree, I'm saying my brain is just as sharp as yours, and it's a matter of really just backing yourself, be confident, believe in yourself. I mean, just because you can contribute, and you may not have the same background, you may not have gone to the same school, whatever, but like I say, you've got a brain, you've got the degree, you've got the training, you can do it, and just like sort of back yourself, and really believe in yourself, because I think once you do that, and set your goals, you can achieve so much,
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I can relate 100% to what you're saying. But I mean, it's just like being present in the moment. No, it's just keeping your head down and rolling with it, embrace the opportunities that are presented along the way. There are going to be times there are a lot of times where I feel a bit out of depth, and you're just like, what's going on? But that's some solid advice, not just for your younger self, but for me and for anyone else that's maybe, that's listening. And then you're now at such a prestigious entity, and you've come through the ranks of like you're having practice, and you going out of practice and going in-house at various institutions. Have you, or do you feel like you have arrived, that there's some sort of, I am at the pinnacle of what I've wanted to achieve?
Okay, I'm going to say no, because for two reasons. Is that number one, I'm moving to a different institution on the 1st of October.
Okay.
So they're also a DFI.
Okay.
They're part of the Private Infrastructure Development Group, and it's a unit called GuarantCo. So I'm moving on from CDC. I had a good experience. So no, I've definitely not arrived. I'm still evolving, and number two is that I always tell myself never to sort of rest on my laurels. I'm always trying to learn. I'm always asking questions. I don't ever think that I don't ever think I'll ever arrive. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm always trying to better myself.
Yes.
I'm always trying to learn more. Whether it's about a particular type of transaction or part of law or different jurisdiction, personal self-development, whatever. I'm never sort of say, right, I can kick back now, and this is
yeah.
it. You know what I'm saying? This is the pinnacle. You know what I'm saying? And for me, that's just the type of person I am. In that, I think if you stop learning, I don't know. I just never want to stop learning. You know, and I love reading and I love learning. So I don't think I'll ever arrive. You know,
Because I think the reason why I ask is because I think the pressure that we put on ourselves as young people is because we look at a certain position that someone is in and we're like, that's where, you know, once I achieve that, then I can die in peace, or once I achieve that, then that's the end-all of it. And it's just like there's so much more, you know. And I appreciate the fact that you shared that with us today, because you know it's about lifelong learning, man. And it's difficult to look at it that way. I mean, you're a bit older and wiser, and you know, but as a young person, to see, am I really gonna have to learn and study for the rest of my life? Learn new things for the rest of my life, because we see that we have such a long way to go. So yeah, I really appreciate that. So you're now in the UK. What motivated you to make that move, you know, from a South African perspective now, like, you know, practicing in South Africa to the UK?
So if you rewind to sort of a year, two years ago, I was at the Mutual Investment Group, and there people would have said, "Oh, you've arrived, man. You're working for Mutual." You know, it's like loads of people dream. You get into a Mutual, you stay there until you retire. You know, so I was working at a Mutual for 10 years at the time. I was working particularly for a subsidiary of the group called African Infrastructure Investment Managers, doing infrastructure in Africa. I'd got to a point where I think I was ranked by Chambers in 2019 as one of the global GC influencers, and I got to a point where within South Africa, it was almost like nowhere for me to go, you know. So I needed to make a choice, you know. Do I sort of stay here, and do I sort of keep on plugging away at that little Mutual until I retire, you know, or do I take a chance? Do I try and spread my wings a bit? Do I become a smaller fish in a massive pond, you know? Do I take up the challenge? And that was one of the driving forces behind coming to the UK was take up the challenge. I'm not to say like that I arrived in Cape Town or that I arrived where I was, but just sort of I personally felt that I'd reached a certain level where it was going to be tough for me to develop or move on to the next thing, or you know, where was the next sort of challenge for me, you know, that was going to grow me as a person. And I think secondly also, I've got a young family. I've got 2 daughters. They were at the time they were 7 and 10. And I just think in terms of timing of the move, I think it was either sort of now or never. You don't want to move when they're in their teens maybe, or you know, just so it was all of that. So just, you know, trying to timing wise, it was right for my family, my career, and took the plunge and was sort of was happy to have got the position at CDC.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it can be a bit risky to sort of to make that decision to just uproot, you know, and pursue something elsewhere. And I mean, I don't know if that was an easier decision to make. I don't know for you, but I would feel very, you know, I don't know, you get comfortable sort of in a role, because I mean, you've been there for 10 years and then now you have to decide, like, let me put something greater. And I think that's so inspiring, because it's about, you know, getting to a position where you realize you're either going to be stagnating right here, you know, remain where you are, which is great, you're doing good where you are, and be complacent, or you step up, you know, and it's about stepping up and pursuing the next opportunity. So
And I mean, I'll be honest with you, when we left, neither of us had jobs. I was sitting on the aeroplane, sort of reading up about. I'd managed to arrange the interview with CDC. Sitting on the plane, reading stuff about CDC, trying to sort of get my facts in order. And on the day I landed, I had an interview with CDC over like Zoom it was, or Skype. And then 2 days later, I went in and met the general counsel, and a week later, I was working. So sometimes you need to. And I mean, I'm not to say I wasn't. Obviously, I was scared out of my wits, but sometimes you need to take the chance. And I always tell my daughter, my daughter is both of them. It's only a failure if you're not learning from something. So take a chance, and you may not always be successful or get, but you've got to take a chance. You got to grow yourself. You got to go for it.
Yeah, there's a saying: you reach for the stars. Shoot for the stars, and if you miss, you land on the moon. Or
that's it. Yeah.
Miss, you land on the star. That's but I think that's actually so incredibly inspiring, because sometimes we're scared to take that leap of faith, because we don't know what's on the other side. Going to, and that's amazing that you were on the flight, so going there, and you didn't have the job yet, so it's not like the job brought you across. I think that that's amazing. And just the last few questions, Clint. Thank you so much for your time. What did you say is, looking at your journey, what would you say is the most valuable lesson you've learned through all of this?
It's a very, very good question. I think the most valuable lesson I've learned to all of us, and if I can pick up on what I said earlier on, is that you honestly, you can do anything you want to do in life. It's just that if I always tell my kids again, if you tell yourself you can't achieve something, well, you're not going to achieve it. But if you set goals for yourself and you tell yourself all the time, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to be, this is what I can do, and just back yourself. I firmly believe that you can achieve great things. If you just set your goals, believe in yourself, and just back yourself to do it. I think subconsciously you tell yourself that all the time, and it plays out. It emanates itself. And some people have it sort of believe in this as a faith-based thing, which I also believe in, or other people have different sort of explanations for it. But I'm a firm believer in that. Is that just you can literally you can do and achieve so much. You just got to set the goals and then work towards it. You tell yourself you can do it.
Yeah, and would you say in that, would you say that networks are an important, aspect of that? Because I knew you spoke earlier about, your time in practice. How important are networks when you are pursuing your goals?
Networks are very important. It's super important. It's not something that you get taught, something that you get told to do, So that's another bit of advice, whether you're in any whether it's professional or other sort of work environment, you must network. No person is an island, and your networks come through for you, and likewise you also got to reciprocate that,
Yes, be there.
And also importantly, don't really think you need to network or rub elbows with the CEOs or the of companies, part of what I enjoy doing is networking with anyone and everyone. I've got friends across all sort of job descriptions or walks of life, or you know what I'm saying. You never know where you may be needed, or that person can help you. So it's about network. Just make as many connections as you can, and make real connections.
Yeah, and I think it's important. That's the important part: making meaningful, real connection with people. I think that's very important advice. Thank you so much, Clint. And then last question, Clint, for someone who's watching this and they want to sort of follow into the footsteps of Clint Wilson, what advice do you have for someone that's watching this?
The advice I have is honestly is work hard. You know, as you said earlier on, you know, put your head down, work hard, but also take the time to look up and observe. You know, I think I'd like to think of myself as not only I'm definitely not a book smart black letter lawyer, but I lean more to the sort of in the middle between book smart and street smart, you know. But also like try and be that well-rounded person, you know, a well-rounded individual, you know. So work hard, but build your connections, add interest outside of just law or your job, you know. I mean, I've got loads of other interests, you know. Live a full life, but make sure you've got some sort of balance, you know, because for me, my career and my job is important, but it's not the be all and end all of who I am, you know. For me, it's my family. I've got other interests, you know. I enjoy sport, running, motorsport, whatever, you know. But just sort of, yeah, live your life, you know. Live a full, balanced life, you know. And it's not just about law, where you work or who you work for. Yes, those things are great, but it's you got to look at things holistically, you know, and always trust that things are going to be okay, man. You know, just you know, if you do the right things and you know, you set your goals and you set yourself on the right path, you know, things will work out, you know. Just keep on chipping away.
Sure. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Clint Wilson, senior legal consultant at CDC up in the UK, all the way from Mitchell's Plain in Port. So much, Clint, for joining us. We appreciate your time with us today.
No, thank you for the opportunity and for doing what you're doing for this platform. I mean, I think it's important what you're doing, and that you know, the message you're delivering to the youth is something we always never had growing up. And yeah, please keep on doing what you're doing and reaching out. I've read up a bit about you as well. So please keep on doing what you're doing. It's a worthy cause. Yeah, and I'm also available sort of just outside of this for talks and you know, whichever way I can help and impart whatever wisdom and knowledge. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Clint. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. And thank you, our viewers. Thank you so much for watching this. If you've been inspired by what you've been hearing, please leave us a message. Please send us a DM, because the Aspiration, Inspiration, we always aspire to inspire before we expire.